Good afternoon, dear colleagues. We're beginning this session of the Dissertation Council, and we are having technical break number 1 because we have some technical issues. Thank you. Good afternoon, dear colleagues. Technical break number 1 is over. We're beginning the panel session for the defense of the dissertation by Mr. Alexander Karpenko, Specialization 230004, Political Problems of International Relations, Global and Regional Development. The topic of the thesis is Evolution of Global Healthcare World Politics in the 21st Century. Under the order issued by St. Petersburg State University as of the 30th of September 2020, number 8736/1, I, Professor Natalia Yeremina, Doctor of Political Sciences, Professor of St. Petersburg State University, have been appointed the chairperson of this dissertation council. The other members of the dissertation council have been appointed by the same order. They are Professor Maria Lagutina, Doctor of Political Sciences, Professor of the Department of World Politics, St. Petersburg State University. Can you hear and see us? Yes, I can see you and I can hear you. Professor Natalia Tsvetkova, Doctor of Historical Sciences, Head of the Department of American Studies of the Department of American Studies, St. Petersburg State University. Can you hear us and see us? Yes, I can hear you and see you. Professor Olga Tsarpitskaya, Doctor of Political Sciences, Department at the Ecclesiastical Academy of the Russian Orthodox Church. Can you see us and hear us? Professor Tsarpitskaya, can you see us? Can you hear us? Switch on your microphone. Yes, I can hear and I can see you. Professor Rosa Nurtazina, Doctor of Political Sciences, Professor of the Department of Political Studies, Gumilyov Eurasian National University, Kazakhstan. Can you see us and hear us? Good afternoon, dear colleagues. Yes, I can see and hear you. Mr. Alexander Karpenko, the degree seeker, his research advisor, Professor Natalia Markushina, Department of the World Politics of St. Petersburg State University. Good afternoon. I would like to ask the members of the Dissertation Council who are attending the session via video conferencing system to switch off their microphones. Please make sure your microphone is switched on when you are given the floor. There is a broadcast of this session and the session is being interpreted into English. You can ask your questions and make comments using the email address that you can find on the official website. The technical personnel will refer the questions to me and I will read them out during the discussion. The questions are supposed to be relevant to the contents of the dissertation. The authors of the questions are to write down their name, position and workplace. The questions that are not relevant to the dissertation will not be read out. We are having technical break number 2. We are having some technical issues. Thank you. Thank you very much. Technical break number 2 is over. Under the order on the procedure of granting academic degrees at St. Petersburg State University, issued by St. Petersburg State University, this session of the Dissertation Council is duly constituted, provided at least 2/3 of the members of the Dissertation Council are present. The total number is not to be fewer than 4 people. The Dissertation Council consists of 5 people, 5 of which are present, including 4 people who are attending the defense remotely via video conferencing system. Therefore, we have a quorum. The agenda is as follows. The session will last about 2 hours. Number 1, the chairman's presentation about the documents submitted by the degree seeker and their conformity with the requirements. Chairman's reply to questions, if any. The degree seeker's presentation providing an overview and findings of the research. Questions to the degree seeker regarding the presentation, no more than 2 minutes for each question. Reports on the dissertation. The members of the Dissertation Council will be taking the floor in turns, about 10 minutes for each member of the Dissertation Council. The chairman's report on the Dissertation Council. The degree seeker's comments about the reports on the dissertation and replies to the questions. Open discussion. The floor will be given to the non-board members of the audience. They can give a brief account of their ideas or ask questions about the research. It is necessary to fill in the registration form and give their full name before the talk. The degree seekers replies to the questions received via email. Research advisor, no more than 3 minutes. Deliberation of the members of the dissertation before the open balloting on conferring or non-conferring degree, the academic degree. Open balloting, vote counting and recording the results in the protocol. Making a decision on whether to confer or not the academic degree. The degree seeker's closing speech. Before proceeding with the agenda, I would like to ask if you have any questions. Well, there are no questions, so I will proceed with the agenda. First of all, I would like to ask you to switch off your mobile phones. But thank you. My brief presentation. The dissertation is submitted in conformity with the requirement for the academic degree of the candidate of science. The specialization is 230004, Political Problems of International Relations, Global and Regional Development. The topic is Evolution of Global Healthcare, World Politics in the 21st Century. The dissertation was approved for the defense by the order of the Academic Secretary of St. Petersburg State University, issued on the 30th of September 2020. The Dissertation Council the dissertation was completed in St. Petersburg State University. The research advisor is Doctor of Political Sciences, Associate Professor of the Department of World Politics, St. Petersburg State University, Professor Natalia Markushina. The degree seeker has published 5 papers. 3 papers have been published in peer-reviewed journals recommended by the Ministry of Education and Science. The degree seeker has submitted a full set of documents to the Academic Secretary of St. Petersburg State University. The documents are in compliance with Section 12 of the order. The documents are stored in the dossier. The representative of the Department of Dissertation Council Management has the copies of the documents. Before we give the floor to the degree seeker, I would like to ask the members of the Dissertation Council if they have any questions to the degree seeker and if it is necessary to read out the list of documents. We don't have any questions, thank you. Since there are no questions, I give the floor to Mr. Karpenko. The floor is yours. Thank you very much. Dear members of the Dissertation Council, today the world has faced COVID-19, and it is clear that our global task is to further develop the global healthcare system. The beginning of the 21st century did not see the resolution of all the challenges that we are facing. It is necessary to highlight a new trend, namely the fight for leadership among different countries, such as the United States and different European countries. It is become especially evident when President Trump made accusations against WHO and China in connection with the coronavirus. And I would like to highlight the actions by the Russian Federation taken in this area. Global integration has increased cooperation among different countries and among different governments. There are different healthcare issues we are facing, not only the coronavirus pandemic. The summit, which took place in 2000, saw the adoption of the Millennium Goals. Among them were such issues as mortality, infant mortality, women's health, infection diseases, HIV/AIDS, and many others. The summit set up the main goals for international cooperation and also set up the framework for meeting the Millennium Goals. The goals were to be implemented before 2015. However, as of 2016, we saw the emergence of new diseases such as Ebola virus and Zika virus. In 2020, we are facing a new threat, namely the COVID-19 pandemic. To increase public health, it is necessary to study the factors that impact public health care and have an impact on the spread of different diseases. By studying the issues and the problems of the global healthcare system, it is possible to develop practical guidelines that can be applied in practice. It is also necessary to develop a single approach to solving different healthcare issues, and it is relevant for specific countries and for the world community. Moreover, there are different tools and mechanisms that are necessary to solve specific issues, namely the tools developed by the United Nations Organization, the World Health Organization, the Red Cross, and different other international organizations. Therefore, we can say that the world community understands how important it is to provide solutions to global threats and to combat challenges, including global healthcare challenges. We should not forget that it is essential to involve non-governmental and governmental organizations across the board. My dissertation does not talk about the coronavirus pandemic. However, the topic of the dissertation is still relevant, because global healthcare is really important. Here we talk about three aspects: morbidity, the physical condition, and demographic processes. The dissertation also talks about the development of global healthcare system and the solution of different healthcare issues at different levels. The aim of the dissertation is to determine the foundations of the global health concept from the world political angle and its practical implementation. I have identified the following objectives of the thesis: to analyze the theoretical framework of the global health concept, to to identify the evolution of the global healthcare system, to analyze the main issues of healthcare in the context of global problems of the 21st century, to identify the primary forms and methods of international cooperation, to assess the involvement of the world-leading states in solving global healthcare issues, to identify the multilateral cooperation features in the global healthcare system, to suggest a comprehensive analysis of the problems and risks. These are the main statements to be defended. Global healthcare caters for effective ways which should become responses to global problems which nowadays we are facing. The two key notions are as follows: medicine and healthcare, and they are different from each other. The former has a centuries-long history. It has existed since the birth of humanity. The latter was identified only in the 21st century. Being a component in international security, medical security features, medical care and preservation of public health on the planet. Within the framework of human security, it is possible to highlight the medical security concept, which can be defined as a comprehensive approach to addressing public health issues, provision of high-quality medical service. The global problem of health promotion and safeguarding is a multifaceted issue. It is related directly to social and economic factors guiding the society's evolution. We are having a technical break number 3 right now. I'm really sorry. I hope we'll be back soon. Technical break number 3 is over. Please continue with your presentation. So I've been talking about the global problem of health promotion. This is a multifaceted issue which is directly connected to the social and economic issues. Here, the last statement to be defended is as follows. There's a new approach which can be described as the global health diplomacy. Scientific novelty of the dissertation includes the following aspects. The concept global health has been analyzed from the political perspective for the first time, and the author's interpretation of this notion has been presented. The political aspects of cooperation between states and other actors in implementation of the global health concept. The author of the dissertation has introduced the medical security concept. The notion of healthcare diplomacy has been interpreted for the first time. Electronic healthcare, or e-health, as part of the global health system has been presented for the first time. Now I would like to talk about the main conclusions and research outcomes. Firstly, global health is an endeavor of the world community to find solutions to global challenges. Absorbing the three crucial ideas of soft power of states and international organizations, living standards and sustainable development, global health has become a part and parcel of the world political process. Among the chief targets of the world's health are provision of equal access to medical assistance and mutual trust. Global health applies different tools of public prophylactics, including multi-level nature of different levels. It is also engaged in drafting of multinational programs to promote public health. Secondly, there are two fundamental notions, medicine and healthcare. The former counts century-long history since the birth of human civilization. The latter appeared in the 20th century. In the context of the latter, we need to focus on such issues as international cooperation. After the World Wars, we saw the development of important institutions, including WHO. These institutions, these international organizations, play a crucial role in global health. The 20th century saw an important role of science in global health. The evolution of modern global health system is characterized by certain trends, namely increased role of modern biotechnologies, priority of access to medicine by all social strata of society. Another important issue is the preparation of highly qualified medical providers. It is also necessary to develop preventive measures, including control of tobacco, alcohol, addiction, and different cardiac diseases. Human health and public health has become part and parcel of the security system in many states. It is part and parcel of international security. Medical security is medical protection and health promotion of the population of the planet. Next, within the framework of the human security concept, I would like to figure out, or rather identify, the medical security concept. It can be defined as a comprehensive approach to addressing public health issues and provision of high-quality medical services. It is part of international security. Therefore, medical security is medical protection and safeguarding of health, of public health. Protection of global health in modern world is a multifaceted issue which is directly connected with social and economic factors. These include such issues as living standards and sustainable development, because public health is directly connected to human survival. We need a technical break number 4. No, everything is okay. Technical break number 4 is finished. Next, medical security is a constituent element of international security, which includes medical protection and health promotion, namely those matters which are aimed at protecting public health at different levels. At technical break number 5, thank you, I'm sorry. Technical break number 5 is over. Thank you. And finally, in globalization of healthcare led to the development of a new type of diplomacy. The aim of this diplomacy is to improve human health and promote international cooperation in healthcare. This diplomacy includes different international organizations, private sector, non-governmental organizations, and scientists, global mass media. These actors are all part and parcel of the dialogue, and they make up a multi-governance system aimed at tackling important healthcare issues. Thank you very much. I will be happy to answer your questions. Thank you very much for your presentation. Dear colleagues, are there any questions about the presentation? There are no questions, as far as I understand. Well, I have a question. I would like to ask you about global healthcare in Russia. Does it have any specific features? At present, Russian healthcare system is quite strong because it has inherited the features of the Soviet healthcare, and some aspects of the Soviet healthcare system was borrowed by different Western countries. So I believe that our epidemiologists and our doctors are contributing a lot into developing vaccines and into providing solutions for the current pandemic. So I believe that the healthcare system in the Russian Federation is very strong, and there are lots of hopes for this healthcare system. Thank you very much. I also would like to say that public health in the Russian Federation has always been a trend. Healthy lifestyle is important for Russian government members as well. For example, President Yeltsin played tennis, and President Putin likes playing hockey. He likes skiing, and he also likes judo. So I believe that healthy lifestyle and good health is a trend in the Russian Federation. Moreover, we are ready to share our experience with different other countries. We all know that Russia has provided humanitarian assistance to Italy. So Russia is actively involved in global healthcare system. Thank you very much. Are there any other questions? In your presentation, you talked about the coronavirus pandemic. It's a very topical issue. I understand that you did not have time to include this issue in your dissertation. However, I would like to ask you a question. Do you think that global healthcare system turned out to be effective in combating COVID-19 pandemic? Thank you very much for your question. I believe this is a multi-level issue. On the one hand, governmental and non-governmental organizations are involved in tackling this issue. On the other hand, we see the active involvement of national healthcare systems in tackling this issue. Different community leaders are also involved in tackling this issue, so almost everybody is trying to tackle this issue. We believe that the world is acting as one in order to combat the pandemic. So do you believe that the global healthcare system is effective? Yes, I think the global healthcare system is effective in combating, and we'll be able to solve this issue if we combine our efforts. I have two questions to the issue, to the candidate. When you read the dissertation, the following questions arise. What period was involved in your dissertation? What material did you collect? This is my first question, and I would like you to provide more specific information about the research outcomes. Thank you. Thank you very much for your questions. In my dissertation, I used the method provided by Voskresensky, which is important when you involve historical analysis. As for the documents, I made use of the latest documents, namely published in the 21st century and at the end of the 20th century. As for the research outcomes of my dissertation, I have come to the conclusion that healthcare diplomacy is a recent phenomenon. However, it's an important branch of diplomacy on the whole. Thank you very much for your question, and I will elaborate the issue at length in my further studies. Thank you very much. Are there any other questions to the degree seeker? There are no questions. Now I will be giving the floor to the members of the Dissertation Council. I suggest that the degree seeker answer the questions after all the reports on the dissertation have been read. Are there any external reports on the dissertation? There are no external reports on the thesis. Since all the reports are published or are posted on the official website, I suggest that you read out only the relevant parts of the dissertation. So the floor is given to Professor Maria Lagutina. Thank you very much. I would like to highlight that the topic of the dissertation is relevant. When I started reading the dissertation, I realized how relevant the topic is, especially in 2020. I'm not as optimistic as the degree seeker about the global healthcare system. I don't think that it is very effective in combating COVID-19. However, similar dissertations are very relevant. I believe it's really important to study global healthcare system. Therefore, Mr. Karpenko's dissertation is relevant in modern context. I believe that he opens up new possibilities and new avenues for future research. The situation with COVID-19 pandemic is not finished yet, but we are already living in the new normal, which is extremely important for international relations and for different aspects of our life. I find the dissertation, therefore, extremely interesting. I believe the degree seeker was able to present a comprehensive analysis of global healthcare system. The dissertation focuses on such issues as the World Health Organization, the actions of non-governmental organizations, and so on. There are also interesting theoretical issues in the dissertation. The terms which are discussed here are sometimes new and not widely used. And I have no doubt that the research outcomes of the dissertation are also very interesting. I assess positively the dissertation. However, I have some comments and remarks. Number one, the introduction to the dissertation does not describe the resources that you use, and I find it strange. Because you give an extensive list of sources that you use. And I find it strange that you did not include this information into the introduction. I also think that the research outcomes should not include references to scholarly works, to other scholarly works. This is so because research outcomes should summarize the degree seeker's personal opinions and personal results. In paragraph 1.4, the author of the dissertation characterizes the new trends in the global healthcare system. However, he does not speak about the so-called infodemia. The term was introduced by the World Health Organization in relation to fake news about COVID-19 and pandemic of COVID-19 is not touched upon in the dissertation. In Chapter 4, the degree seeker analyzes the cases of different national healthcare systems. However, he describes these cases unevenly. For example, he gives a lengthy description of the European system of healthcare, but he does not describe it in such detail as regards to other countries. In Chapter 5, the degree seeker provides information about the World Health Organization. However, I think it would be interesting to learn more about other UN agencies and their involvement in combating COVID-19. And my last comment is as follows. Your dissertation is really relevant. However, I think you should have included your scenario for possible transformation of global governance against the backdrop of COVID-19 pandemic. Probably you would have been able to provide some specific solutions. Nevertheless, the comments do not change the overall positive assessment of the dissertation. They are rather recommendations than criticisms. Therefore, the dissertation by Mr. Karpenko, Evolution of Global Healthcare World Politics in the 21st Century, complies with the major requirements set forth in order number 6821/1 as the 1st of September 2016, and Mr. Karpenko can be awarded the academic degree of the candidate of political sciences. The specialization is 230004, Political Problems of International Relations, Global and Regional Development. The dissertation is compliant with Section 11 of the above-mentioned order. Thank you very much for your presentation. Now the floor is given to Professor Nurtazina. Thank you very much for your presentation. Dear colleagues, our reports are posted on the official website. However, I would like to mention some positive aspects of the dissertation. I believe that the topic of the dissertation is extremely relevant and topical. He deals with the political aspects of global healthcare. Therefore, the dissertation is very important for political studies. He has introduced the concept of global healthcare into scientific discourse. The dissertation also has practical relevance. You have already talked about the research outcomes, so I'm not going to talk at length about it. However, I would like to highlight that the dissertation is well structured and logically written. It consists of 5 chapters. The structure of the dissertation allows us to describe the issue in question at length. The research outcomes of the dissertation are also valid and credible. In the dissertation, you can also see that the degree seeker has a specific position on specific issues. He has read a lot of documents about the topic of the dissertation. He uses different methods. Mr. Karpenko also published 5 articles or 5 papers. 3 papers have been published in the journals recommended by the Higher Attestation Committee of the Russian Federation. And I believe you have published 1 paper in the journal where I am the chief editor. The paper was submitted and the paper was published in this journal. The research outcomes can be used by different educational institutions for practical, and they can be used for practical purposes as well. Now a few words about my comments. So the topic of the dissertation is relevant, and still I have some comments, or rather recommendations. My first comment is about the structure of the dissertation. I believe you should have combined paragraphs 1.2 and 1.3 of the first chapter, since these two paragraphs describe one topic. Moreover, paragraph 1.2 is really short. Comment number 2. The dissertation contains descriptions of the issue, which makes it more difficult to read the text of the dissertation. I believe you could have used other methods, for example, interviews, questionnaires, SWOT analysis, content analysis, and so on. I believe you should have made more use of content analysis. All these methods would have made the dissertation more scientifically valuable. The dissertation has some stylistic drawbacks. Number 4, the dissertation doesn't contain any tables or graphs or diagrams. I believe the visual representation of the material would have improved the quality of the dissertation. Each paragraph contains very short outcomes, or rather research outcomes, and I believe that these short outcomes do not provide the summarization, or the necessary summarization of the topic that you are discussing. For example, here I quote, "When speaking about the formation of the global healthcare system, the geographical factor should be taken into account." This is one of the outcomes. Here I quote again, "The environmental hazards are as follows. Therefore, we can talk about the fact that the improvement of food quality will be beneficial for human health. Conversely, poor food quality can lead to spread of diseases." I believe that these facts are widely known. Number 6. This comment is about the use of scholarly papers. You refer to scholarly papers published between 1969 and 2014. It means that you talk at length about the historical aspects of global healthcare. But I believe that the modern situation is also relevant. However, I believe that the degree seeker can provide his rationale for writing his thesis the way he wrote it. I believe that the dissertation complies with the major requirements. The topic of the dissertation is relevant. You have done a great work. The work includes the analysis of key issues related to global healthcare. Therefore, I believe that the dissertation is valuable. The dissertation has been discussed by the professors of your department, and your dissertation makes a contribution to political sciences. So the dissertation complies with the major requirements set forth in Order 6821/1 as of the 1st of September 2016 on the procedure of granting academic degrees of St. Petersburg State University, and the degree seeker, Alexander Karpenko, can be awarded the academic degree of the political sciences. The specialization is 230004, Political Problems of International Relations, Global and Regional Development. The dissertation is compliant with Section 11 of the above-mentioned order. Thank you. Thank you very much. Now the floor is given to Professor Tsvetkova. Thank you very much. My report is published on the official website, so I am not going to read my report from beginning to end. I agree with my colleagues, and I would like to highlight the following thing. I was impressed by the fact that the degree seeker had chosen such a relevant topic. Global healthcare diplomacy is a new term that is used in scientific research, and it is a new term. It's a recent term. I like how you make use of different concepts, such as the digitalization of global healthcare, or human security, or health security. These are very new concepts. So I believe that this dissertation is very topical and very interesting. The degree seeker was able to analyze lots of scientific papers and different sources related to health diplomacy. Health diplomacy is a new term. Over the past 6 months, there have been about 6,000 papers regarding this topic, and I believe that you were able to write a dissertation on a very topical issue. However, I have some comments, which is not unusual for a new dissertation. I believe you should have given a more detailed description of the prior research of the topic. Since this paragraph is very important for your issue, I am an expert in public diplomacy, and it is interesting for me how scientists or scholars write about health diplomacy and information war. I know that new papers are published every day, and here I would like to stress that it is quite difficult to keep track of all new papers. I agree with Professor Lagutina that the emergence of the global crisis and the emergence of the new normal is part and parcel of our lives now. And I believe it would be important to write more about the consequences of this pandemic. It seems to me that this dissertation lacks this aspect. The degree seeker has touched upon these issues in his dissertation. However, it is not clear what type of diplomacy is healthcare diplomacy. Is it traditional diplomacy or public diplomacy? Today, it is clear that healthcare diplomacy has become part of public diplomacy, but there is also the so-called proxy diplomacy, which involves information wars. I would like to remind you what happened in spring of 2020. President Trump began an information campaign against China, and he also accused the Voice of America of presenting China in the positive aspect. So my question is, what role does healthcare diplomacy play in government diplomacy, or in diplomacy on the whole? And my last comment is about the United States of America. Paragraph 4.1 is called, "The United States is the leader in global healthcare." I would like to say that I don't agree with you. There are many issues with American healthcare, and so this is a controversial issue. But we understand that things are changing very rapidly. So, dear colleagues, dear chairperson, I would like to say that my comments do not change the overall positive review of the dissertation, which makes great contribution to modern science. Therefore, the dissertation by Mr. Karpenko, "Evolution of Global Healthcare World Politics in the 21st Century," complies with major requirements set forth in Order 6821/1 as of the 1st of September 2016 on the procedure of granting of academic degrees at St. Petersburg State University, and the degree seeker can be awarded the academic degree of the candidate of political sciences, specialization 230004, political problems of international relations, global and region development. The dissertation is compliant with Section 11 of the above-mentioned order. Thank you very much. Thank you very much for your report. Now the floor is given to Professor Tserpitskaya. Dear colleagues, good afternoon. First of all, I would like to say that the degree seeker will have to write a second volume to the dissertation because the world order has changed. And the topic of global healthcare needs further development. This dissertation is a precursor to the current situation. We do not see the end of the situation that is underway right now. My report is posted on the website, but I would like to highlight that the diplomatic aspect of the dissertation is very interesting. This dissertation is really good. The topic is relevant. However, there are some controversial issues here. I wouldn't call them criticisms, but they are because they are debatable. I believe it would be interesting to compare different strategies, national strategies and global strategies. Probably you should have paid more attention to regional security of Copenhagen School. And unfortunately, you do not provide any practical solutions for the situation of pandemic, but I believe the dissertation was written before the pandemic began. The dissertation complies with the major requirements set forth in Order 6821/1 as of the 1st of September 2016, and I believe Mr. Karpenko can be awarded the academic degree of the candidate of political sciences, and the dissertation is compliant with Section 11 of the above-mentioned order. I agree with my colleagues, and I would like to say that I assess this dissertation positively. Thank you very much for your presentation. The dissertation is relevant. It is devoted to a very important topic. Pandemics have become part of our life. We all remember the bird flu and the swine flu and so on. However, there are very few papers on this topic. Therefore, the dissertation makes an important contribution to modern science. This research allows us to assess the theoretical framework and the practical aspects of global healthcare. Therefore, the dissertation can be interesting for scholars and for people who are practically involved in healthcare. The dissertation also has an element of novelty. The degree seeker gives his interpretation of the concept of global healthcare. He analyzes the involvement of actors of different levels in global healthcare. He also analyzes intergovernmental cooperation and cooperation between different other actors, including non-governmental actors. The degree seeker also introduces the concept of medical security. He also writes about diplomacy in global healthcare, and e-healthcare is described as part of global healthcare. The research outcomes can be used in developing practical guidelines as well. This is a complete and original research. However, I have a number of comments and remarks that I would like to make. However, my remarks are debatable. Number one, the time framework is not quite clear. You could have mentioned that you use a historical approach in your dissertation. You provide different periods in the evolution of global healthcare system, which proves that you use historical approach in your dissertation. The analysis of sources is not quite comprehensive, I believe. I don't think that you analyze official websites. You analyze specific documents posted on official websites. You do not give a comprehensive explanation of how healthcare and soft power are connected. It is also important to answer the question, is intergovernmental cooperation possible when medical technology is extremely expensive and can be used for making profit? Can, in this case, medical technology be used to solve global healthcare issues? I believe you should have paid more attention to the issue of overcoming global problems, namely the differences between different countries. Probably there are some cases that could have been analyzed. I believe you could deal with these issues in your further research. However, these comments are quite debatable and they do not change my overall positive assessment of the dissertation. So the dissertation complies with the major requirements set forth in Order 6821/1 as of the 1st of September 2016 on the procedure of granting academic degrees in St. Petersburg State University, and the degree seeker can be awarded the academic degree of the candidate of political sciences. The dissertation is compliant with Section 11 of the above-mentioned order. Now I give the floor to Mr. Karpenko. Please answer the questions. Dear members of the Dissertation Board, I would like to thank you for reading my dissertation, and I accept many of the comments and I will make use of them in my further research. However, I would like to explain my position and my opinion on some issues. In one of the comments, you ask, or you rather mention, that I did not write anything about COVID-19. It's a very important comment. However, the dissertation was finished just before the world faced the new challenge. However, there are some instruments that global healthcare possess in order to combat such challenges: international cooperation, intergovernmental cooperation, and so on. I will continue working in this area, and I have recently published a paper in the review of Eurasian National University, and this paper deals with COVID-19. In the second chapter, I write about different factors that have an impact on public health care. It would also be interesting to analyze the so-called new normal that we are facing right now. I have already mentioned that I am going to continue my research in this area. I will continue to collect information about the coronavirus, and my further papers will deal with the COVID-19. In paragraph 3.2, I write about healthcare diplomacy, and the question was about the type of healthcare diplomacy. Is it classical diplomacy or public diplomacy? I agree with the American scientist, Professor Cooper, and I believe that diplomacy is undergoing qualitative changes. And healthcare diplomacy is part of public diplomacy. The globalization of public healthcare has made its impact on healthcare in general, and today no country can protect its citizens alone. Another important issue of modern healthcare is related to governance. Today, the distribution of responsibilities in global healthcare is quite vague. More and more diplomats are involved in healthcare, and more healthcare specialists are beginning to work in the diplomacy area. Therefore, states, non-governmental organizations, international organizations, scientists, and mass media must be involved in healthcare, in global healthcare, and in healthcare cooperation. However, specific features or specific skills are necessary in order to conduct negotiations in healthcare. Therefore, we see the emergence of the new sphere, namely the healthcare diplomacy. Healthcare diplomacy involves multi-level cooperation and multi-level negotiations. Therefore, I must stress that healthcare diplomacy combines classical diplomacy and public healthcare, providing the balance of national interests and collective interests of the world community. Speaking about public diplomacy, I must say that I agree with Mr. Yakunin, a Russian scientist. He says that public diplomacy increases the humanitarian character of the world policy. Here I would like to refer to Professor Knight Jr. concept. He says that a key role is given to non-governmental organizations as well when we talk about global healthcare. One of the comments was about the fact that paragraph 1 is entitled "The USA is the leader in global healthcare." Yes, I believe that this issue is debatable. Recent events have proved that the United States is facing healthcare issues, and its role in the global healthcare has also undergone many changes over the past months. As for me, I wanted to show the situation from the point of view of the United States, which position themselves as the leaders in the global healthcare. Moreover, the World Health Organization ranks the United States first in many aspects, such as access to medical health care, confidentiality of patient healthcare information, respect to patients, and different other systems. Yes, I agree that American healthcare system is now widely criticized, and American healthcare system has its drawbacks. For example, private healthcare is dominant in the United States, and American healthcare system is in need of many reforms. Probably the new president will make efforts in order to change the status quo. I agree with Professor Nurtazina, and I thank you for your recommendations, and I will make use of them in my future research. However, I would like to provide some explanations. I use the methods of multi-factor equilibrium. This method was proposed by Professor Voskresensky. I believe it's impossible to conduct the analysis of global healthcare without referring to the issues of evolution, without referring to its past situation and present situation. It helps to understand how global healthcare works in modern situation, because modern practices are based on practices based on practices which were in the past. I would like to congratulate you on the independence of the Republic of Kazakhstan, and I would like to highlight the importance of cooperation between Russia and Kazakhstan, including global healthcare, including cooperation in global healthcare. I would like also to thank Professor Tserpitskaya for your comments. Your comments were similar to some other comments, so I have answered your questions as well, I believe. I would like to thank Professor Lagutina as well. I accept your comments and I will make use of them in my future research. Some of your comments also deal with the coronavirus pandemic, so I have answered the question as well. But here I would like to highlight that the coronavirus pandemic has brought some new issues, for example, the issue of infodemia. And I would like to comment on the remarks presented by the chairperson. I would like to thank Professor Yuromina for your valuable remarks. I regard them as guidelines for my future research. However, I would like to make some comments about them and to present my position here. In one of your comments, you mentioned that I do not describe the connection between medicine and soft power. For example, I should have probably mentioned the trade in vaccine in my issue. And soft power is a very comprehensive and broad concept. Soft power is important for states and international organizations. The image of a country depends on healthcare. George Nye developed the concept of health security. Global public health security is defined by the actions which are necessary in order to minimize the impact of negative factors on public health in different regions. The countries are responsible for the security of their citizens. The aim of global healthcare security is to demonstrate how international cooperation in healthcare can help us build a more secure future. And of course, soft power is important here. Unfortunately, I did not describe in depth the issues of trade in vaccine and medication. It was not part of my aim, but I mentioned this issue in my dissertation. For example, I write about Martin Shkreli, whose company, Turing Pharmaceuticals, bought the rights for the medication Daraprim and increased the prices by 55 times. He was publicly ostracized. Martin Shkreli was publicly ostracized, but it did not change his attitude. However, his actions had an impact on the image in the United States. Now about a few words about cooperation when medical technology is extremely important and can be used for making profit. I would like to say that I do not write about this dilemma in my dissertation because this is really a dilemma which is difficult to provide a solution for. For example, in the United States, healthcare reform is a political issue, but in fact it's more connected with making profit by health insurance companies. I would like to thank the members of the Dissertation Council for their comments. Thank you very much for your comments. Do you have any questions to the degree seeker? We cannot hear you. I didn't switch on my microphone. Thank you very much for your answers. Dear colleagues, do you have any questions to the degree seeker? Thank you very much. We are satisfied. Does anybody want to make a comment? Nobody wants to make a comment. Are there any questions that were obtained via email. Now I would like to give the floor to the research advisor, Professor Natalia Markushina. Dear colleagues, can you see me? Can you hear me? Thank you very much. Today we are wearing masks, and some of the members of the Dissertation Council are attending the session remotely, prove that the dissertation is topical. COVID-19 pandemic has changed the attitude to traditional activities, such as the defense of the dissertation. In 2016, we were afraid of Zika virus and Ebola, but today we are afraid of COVID-19. But it is of vital importance to understand the algorithm of actions undertaken by governmental and non-governmental actors. I would like to stress that the topic of the dissertation is relevant. Moreover, the dissertation also contains an element of novelty. The degree seeker describes such issues as medical security and e-health care. The dissertation is relevant, and it is also provides very important scientific framework. I would like to say that the degree seeker can be awarded the academic degree, and I urge the members of the Dissertation Council to vote for voting for conferring the academic degree. Does anybody have questions about the remote regime of the session? Dear colleagues, do we need to make technical break to discuss the results of the session? We are not taking a technical break, so I move on to the next item on the agenda. So, dear colleagues, we are beginning the open voting on the issue of conferring the academic degree to Mr. Alexander Karpenko, Specialization 230004, Political Problems of International Relations, Global and Regional Developments. Let me remind you that the decision of the Dissertation Council is positive, provided more than 50% of the members voted in favor. So, Professor Maria Lagutina, how do you vote? I vote in favor of conferring the academic degree. Professor Natalia Tsvetkova, how do you vote? I vote for conferring the academic degree. Professor Olga Tserpitska, how do you vote? I vote for conferring the academic degree. Professor Rosa Nurtazina, how do you vote? I vote for conferring the academic degree. I, the chairperson of the Dissertation Council, Professor Yurimina, also vote for conferring the academic degree. So out of 4 members of the Dissertation Council, 5 members have voted for. Nobody abstained from voting or voted against. So Mr. Karpenko Alexander can be awarded the academic degree of the candidate of political sciences. Do you have any questions about the remote regime, or do you have any comments about the remote regime? So thank you very much. I give the floor to the degree seeker for his closing remarks, and I congratulate you on being conferred the academic degree. Dear members of the Dissertation Council, I would like to thank you for your valuable remarks. I will make use of them in my future research, and would like to congratulate everyone on the upcoming new year and wish you all the best in this difficult time. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. We congratulate you. I would like to thank everybody. Please switch off the broadcast.